There it is. There's Ann, everybody. So her bio is up here on the screen, and now we're going to continue with some pictures of her that she sent me. Talks a little bit about her, and I'll give the floor to her. And Ann, you got 20 minutes. I'll wave at you when you get close.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome in.
It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you tonight. And people often ask me, what is the secret to raising kids? Well, there really is no secret. And, when I called my daughters today to say, hey, kids, I've got a really special speaking engagement tonight. I'm the parenting expert. Well, my daughters, they were busy. They couldn't pick up the phone. They were in psychotherapy sessions. So, so there is no expert, right? Our kids make us into great parents. And I had this thing that I did on the weekends that didn't really align with my Catholic school upbringing, but I found myself pregnant. And there I was with my whole life crashing down before me. And that little boy changed my life. I had been through a 31-year marriage that ended, sadly, in a divorce. And so as I was just getting back on my feet and figuring out what I was going to do with my life, I had a daily habit. I would go into church every morning. I would go into a daily mass, and I would pray. And that was my centering ground, along with working out. Well, it was the morning of October 3rd, 2019. My divorce was final just 2 weeks before that, and I was finally getting my confidence. And 2 feet from that door, my phone rang, and I could literally see the people inside. And my phone rang, and it was my daughter-in-law, and she said, Ann, David's gone. David just drowned. We were going to go to Disney World, and he had a seizure by the water, and he fell in and he drowned. And my 35-year-old son that had a 2-year-old and one on the way died just like that.
Talked to a lot of people that Ann and I really connected that event, and we got to talk about her perspective on life and how it coincided with what I believe. And so when I started doing this event, we decided to put this together, I said, we got to have Ann talk here. All right, our next speaker is Dr. Chris McCluskey. And if you want to talk about somebody who literally can change lives in a physical way, because he does some incredible rehabilitation and other related wellness stuff that is just like you can't find it anywhere. And so he's got some incredible techniques and special treatments, and I'll let him talk all about it. So please give a warm introduction here to, or warm welcome to Dr. Chris McCluskey.
First of all, another big round of applause for him.
Great job. And thank you for Carter for having me. Who knows what the #1 cause of disability in the United States is outside of accidents? Degenerative arthritic changes, mostly in the spine. Okay, it's happening at pandemic levels. When I started practice 20 years ago, you saw it in people's 50s and 60s, 70s. Now we're seeing it in teenagers and 20s. Why? Okay. So you have this spine. It's the conduit that transmits the signals between the brain to your tissues. Okay. So there's some very easy testing, right? When you have a car, you can put it on the frame machine, right? You know if it's in alignment or not. Every one of you in here has checked your car's alignment. Okay. What kind of alignment, or what's the alignment situation in your body and your spine right now? Who's had a full spine x-ray in the last year to know what your structure and alignment looks like? Few people, okay? I suggest you all do that, okay? So that's it. Nerve system housed by spinal column, spinal cords in the spinal column, okay? Medicine will still tell you degenerative changes happen as a function of age. Hogwash, okay? Because I do x-rays every day of the week, and I see multiple levels degenerated and other levels are in good shape. We just launched, raise your hand if you know somebody who's had shoulder, elbow, wrist, hip, knee, or ankle pain. Okay, raise your hand if you know that the medical system is going to give you physical therapy or injections and eventually a replacement. It's not their fault. It's just what they have to offer, okay? I take care of a lot of athletes, a lot of high school collegiate, a lot of pro athletes. My pro athletes started telling me, we got this magic machine at the office, or at the facility, right? I didn't pay much attention. I'm not a therapy guy. I'm a spine guy. Buddy of mine calls me and says, did you see Pat played this week? Raise your hand if you know who Patrick Mahomes is, okay? He blew his knee last year. He had soft wave tissue regeneration therapy. It's a machine that drives sound waves into a joint space at 3,500 miles an hour. It drives out inflammation, increases angiogenesis and stem cells, and the joint rebuilds itself. We bought one last year. We have one of the only machines in the area. It's in Collinsville, Illinois. Okay? So, nerve system, okay? Structure, which houses the nerve system, nutrients, or any joint issues, that's what we do. Okay? So, I don't care if y'all come see me. There's plenty of doctors all over the country and the world that do what we do. But I want this to light a fire in you, especially if you have any things that you want to be able to do that you can't do. Because I'm getting older. Well, hogwash. There's people in their 70s doing Ironman races. You understand? Okay? So you deserve to do that too. All right? So I want to thank you for my time, Carter. Hopefully this gave you some good information. If you guys would ever like to reach out to me, I'm sure my contact information is somewhere. Feel free to do so. We'd be glad to have you in our office to help you out or refer you to a great doctor somewhere else. I send people to doctors all over the country and the world all the time, and I would love nothing more than to help you all live a higher quality of life for as long as possible.
Was that pretty cool, Mr. Dr. Chris? Chris and I are like buddies. I mean, I literally, I gotta tell you a quick story. Taking life to another level. Who wants? Make some noise over here. Having some fun up here. There we go. I'm gonna start doing my break. I can do the moonwalk. You guys ready? Here we go. It's a little hard to do on carpet. As a graduate at SLU, you can't help but meet some of the best attorneys in the Midwest and in the country. He didn't charge us to be here, so that was nice, right? The lawyers are very expensive. And so we appreciate it. If you would, give it up for Mr. Tom Karsten.
Thanks. Good evening, everybody. Is this working okay? Can you hear me? My name's Tom Karsten. I'm an attorney at law here in Clayton, Missouri. I've been an attorney since 1999. My particular specialty is family law, which involves divorce, child custody, child support, paternity, and I do a lot of estate planning and probate administration for decedents' estates, wills, trusts, guardianships, that sort of thing. But Carter asked me to come and talk tonight about divorce because it's something that pretty much impacts everybody. One of the things that I strive for as an attorney is to make the process transparent. I don't want to be a lawyer where, you go in and your lawyer says, just trust me, sign here. I try to answer every question for everybody, try to make sure that they understand what we're doing. I put clients are really in charge, right? I take my directives from my client. My job is to give them the information that they need so that they can make an informed decision and tell me what they need me to do for them. There are only 3 possible tracks that your divorce can take. And I'm going to tell you a lot of insider stuff tonight that other lawyers probably won't tell you, so that you're going to walk away with this thinking you have a free law degree in family law. So there's only 3 tracks. Number 1 is the non-contested divorce. That's where there's no contest or no dispute between you and your spouse. That's always the best idea, right? It's the cheapest way to do it, it's the most amicable way to do it, and it's the most expeditious way to do it. But that depends on your and your spouse's ability to come to a complete agreement, a global settlement about everything involved in your divorce. And sometimes that happens, sometimes, unfortunately, some people are not mature enough or reasonable enough to be able to come to that kind of agreement on their own. The next track is the default. So your spouse won't agree with you about what they're going to do. Maybe they're delaying unreasonably. Maybe you want to talk to them about divorce and they're ignoring the subject. So you decide, I want to move forward. I file for divorce because I've been here for 90 days. You have to have the other party served, right? That's a constitutional due process requirement whenever you take anybody to court. You have to give them notice that you're suing them. And divorce is a type of lawsuit. So you have a private process server or a sheriff come out and hand the other spouse a copy of the dissolution petition. Well, when you get handed any kind of summons on a case when someone's suing you, that triggers your obligation to respond to that in writing by filing an answer with the court. You got to do that within 30 days. And if you don't do that, you're in default. And there's a ton of people who get served with process and say, oh, well, screw that, I'm not going to throw it in the trash. They don't do anything. Well, I love when that happens because if the other party doesn't respond in 30 days, guess what happens? I get to take my client to court, but ultimately my job is to protect your rights and get you the best financial settlement that's possible. That's how to get to the next level as a client. So sure. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Give it up for Tom Carson. These guys, these two are just a couple of the best all-around people you'll find on the planet. Let me pull up my song here because this is really a key song for what we've got here to kind of touch on that. So with that, I'm going to bring up Emily.
No, I'm going first.
Steve's going to go first. Okay, cool. Come on up, Steve. I think I'd like to work with somebody I can trust and work with well, and Steve welcomed me aboard. So I'm now a licensed loan officer now for almost a year, 9 months, 10 months with Steve's team, and really putting together some fun stuff, and it's a lot of excitement. So with that, I'll turn it over to Steve Flowers, everybody.
Like that he puts up here that like I'm one of the nation's top mortgage loan officers. I'm going to take a couple minutes and talk a little bit, and my wife's going to take the next half of it and talk. And you're going to notice that we're going to be the glue between the first couple of speakers as far as generational health and generational wealth and divorce and everything like that. So I've been doing this 28 years. A long time in the St. Louis market. My wife and I are with USA Mortgage, which is a St. Louis-based company. In the mortgage industry, why you want a professional is that our stuff changes every day, all the time. What we could do just a couple of years ago is gone from what we can do. We are no longer in the good old boy network of the handshake and, hey, I'm going to pay you back, and my grandpa banked here, my dad banked here, I'm going to bank here, and you walk in, you get your loan. So everything changes so much in our industry from day to day that it's made it quite cumbersome for guys like me, a real sales guy. Like I said, I've been doing this for 28 years. I love the sales side of it. Original founder and owner of a place in town called Golden Oak Lending. Sold that out, and that institution, we like to call it a hit it and quit it. Chop house, right? Wife joined me. She's a stay-at-home mom with our kids for the first 14 years. Joined me in the industry about 8 years ago, and we had a good living on the hit it and quit it method, but she looked at me and she goes, that's not my personality. So we moved away from being transactional and more relationship-based. We moved away from the sales side of the mortgage industry and more into the educational side of it. So the thing that I would tell most people is, A, you got to work with a professional that knows what's going on in the industry yesterday, today, and what's going to happen in the future. But the most important thing when it comes along to mortgage financing is, because it's so changing every day, is the fact that most people that look to do something, they're typical Americans. Hey, I saw a house, I want to buy it right now, what's my first step? So little tricks of the trade that we work on when we go through things. And that's really it. If anybody doesn't have any questions, I want to turn it over to the real rock star here. She'll handle all the divorce side of mortgage lending. So thank you for your time. Carter, I appreciate it, bud. How'd I do in time?
That was great. Give it up for Steve Flowers, everybody. He is a CDLP. That's a Certified Divorce Loan Professional. And that's literally a designation. She has to pass an exam and take a bunch of, and to get certified. I mean, that's more valuable than college education these times, because that's kind of like a very broad spectrum, but she's got to narrow down specific niche for being an expert with this. And that's just somebody you want to deal with. We work with a lot of divorce attorneys and other people in that realm, and that's what Emily's going to talk about here. So give it up for Emily Flowers.
All right. So my husband is a genius when it comes to financial planners and building that financial wealth with your, mortgage and all of those things. And I've listened to him for years and years and years, even when I was home with the kids for 14 of them. So in the divorce process, there's a ton of stay-at-home moms like me, or there's people that are in transitions or something like that. And they have this property or these properties, and they're like, well, I want the house. Our kids were raised in this house, and I don't want them to have to change, and, so on and so forth. Okay, well, let's take a look at that. Let's see if we can make that possible.
So they're turning roommates into soulmates. And wouldn't that be so cool? Because it's just that short period of time we have on this planet, and you want to spend it with somebody you love and can spend it and make a great relationship with. So give a warm welcome to David Rispoli.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and just have an opportunity just to briefly share it with you. Carter, thank you so much for hosting this, putting this on. The speakers that I've heard have been phenomenal, and I'm excited about the speakers that are to come. My topic really is about this next level and how to take your life to the next level. You want to level up your life? We all do. Let me share 5 quick things. The first thing is this: you were created on purpose and for a purpose. I'm not getting religious or spiritual on you, but I want you to know that you are here for a reason. You are not a mistake. You might have made mistakes, you might have messed some things up, but there is still a purpose for your life. Here's the second thing. At the end of our journey, and I've been a hospice chaplain for 28 years, at the end of your journey, the only thing that's going to matter is the quality of your relationships. The quality of your life is directly proportionate to the quality of your relationships. Here's number 3. Life is short. Life is so short. It's a vapor. We're here today and we're gone tomorrow. So the time to make the move, the time to take action is today. The time to take your business to the next level, that's today. The time to tell your kids that you love them, that's today. The time to make things right with your spouse, that's today. Life is short. Here's the 4th thing. You're leaving a legacy. You are leaving a legacy. Every person in this room, you're leaving a legacy. Who are you? And what are you doing here? The answer to that question is the key to leveling up. Thank you so much for listening.
Well, give it up for Mr. David Rispoli. So the song I got for that one is "We Found Love," right?
Well, our next speaker is Carter, the Cardinal Cowboy. He's a good buddy of mine. I take a lot of razzing from people that we know because he's a unique gentleman. It takes a lot of guts to do what he does, but he's on a mission. And I tell people that we play ball with and everything, and that we work with. I said, you got to hear this guy's story, because when you hear his story and you find out about what he is about, it all kind of makes a little bit more sense, which is, how he does the show, why he's gathered us all today. Is he a strange bird? Absolutely. We wouldn't have it any other way. He's got a great story. He's on a mission, and it's just not about getting more mortgage loans, right? It's about what we're all here for tonight, right?
You got it.
All right, Carter Redbush.
So, I feel so blessed. I've got so many people in my life that have been so influential, and I've gone through so much, as we all do. A coma is just a crazy thing to go through. So many people that have influenced my life and been so part of it. I tell you, I got one particular ounce of a lot of inspiration from a guy who I asked him if he could come here tonight as a guest, because this guy's a pretty big deal. But please give a warm welcome to my friend Ron Beckley, the Towel Man. Come on up here, Ron. There's only a few legends. I was so fortunate that when I saw somebody said, "Cowboy, you got all this," and I looked up, I'm like, yeah, I'm one out of 21 super fans. And I wasn't the top one. This guy was the number 2 on that list, behind a guy from New York, of all the top super fans in the world. And it's not just because he's a great fan, but because he does so much to influence the community. He's got a giant sign on the side of the Enterprise Center now. It's got to be 60 by 60. I saw it myself, and it's because he's such an impactful guy. So, Ron, say something to everybody, if you would, real quickly. Because you got to use my mic. It's on right here.
Yeah, if you want to reach the next level, find somebody who has tickets in the next level. It's much easier to watch the game. The speakers have been awesome. Great message, and the last speaker. Yes, we're all here for a purpose and a reason, And something as simple as what I'm doing has opened up so many doors, and I don't think I'm smart enough to think that was ever my idea, but it's opened up so many doors for me. And I really do. God sends all of these blessings down to you, and when you have a blessing, it's not a gift until you give it away. So it comes with the responsibility of sharing it, and you got to give to live.
There you go. Give it up for the towel man, Ron Beckley. The TV show I felt was an opportunity to highlight leaders in the community because I felt like that was what people needed to see more of. It's kind of interesting of what I went through and I overcame a coma and all of that, but that's a little bit much for some people. If you can't relate to that, you were near death, that's a little deep. But I felt like there were so many other leaders in our community that they didn't go through a coma. They just went through life, which is dang near as difficult as a coma sometimes, right? We all know what that's like because you're conscious for all of that, right? I was unconscious. I didn't have to deal with some of that stuff. But literally, you had these leaders that I felt needed to be highlighted. So then we did that. We've done that show. It's still airing on ABC. It's called the Cowboy and Judge Show. And now we have the Your Little Castle show. Because I wanted to take it away from where my name's not in there. Because I don't have to be the guy on set, on camera all the time. Believe me, it's fun being out front and making people smile, making them enjoy life a little bit. But sometimes you want to take a breath. And if this thing's going to really grow, I can't do it all, right? And I could do a lot of it, but I can't, if I really wanted to get large. So now that's what we've really worked on. And so thanks to so many of our speakers that have been people that have been guests on my show, and many more of you. Michael Baran is a legend. He's going to be our next speaker here in just a minute. But there's so much that we can now offer to help people. So if you guys know anybody that really deserves to have their message out there, that really is making a difference in our community, that's making an impact, Schneider Roofing and Remodeling was just on the show. I mean, you want to talk about, Charlie is a genius when it came to it. I've interviewed a number of roofing guys, and they all know their stuff, but holy cow, he does some stuff that's like, and these are the kinds of people you get to talk about. Dave Smock, when you get into plumbing and what it takes to be a master plumber, I mean, how do you have these kinds of discussions without calling somebody and saying, hey man, spend a half hour telling me how your job works? They're not going to do that, right? It's $300 an hour. We'll come over and fix it. Thank you, I got to get to the next one. But they take their time and spend their time talking to us. And we really appreciate that. And that's what this is all really about, so we can help make this world a little bit better place and help the people that maybe didn't get that connection, didn't see the right resource, weren't in the right situation, or just weren't aware of what was going on. Hey, no excuses now. We're putting the information out there for you. It's up to you if you want to make a difference in your life. It's up to you if you want to impact this world. It's up to you if you want to have a fulfilled life. And I think that's what I live and breathe for. And it comes from my parents, and I think it's the best way to live your life. Because you never have to look back saying, I wish I'd have done something different. I wish I would have helped somebody. I wish I would have made a difference in somebody's life. And that to me is what makes the world go round and gives you true fulfillment and happiness. And that's what this is all about. Thanks, you guys. How many people have appreciation for wildlife? Animals, right? Is there anybody like, no, I don't like animals? Of course, everybody loves our animals because they bring so much fulfillment. They're such an intrinsic part of our ecosystem and everything that goes on in this little planet. A lot of people don't realize that. It's like, it's just an elephant, right? What is it? No, it's something that actually part of the system that God gave us. And so here we are with a nice warm welcome. Give a warm welcome to Michael Bearman. And Jenna. Thank you, everybody.
So, you know, as a public speaker, you always have to start with a group exercise, right? But I looked at you guys and I'm like, y'all are such a good-looking group, and you're dressed so well. Y'all are not ready to handle a greased alligator. So we're going to leave the olive oil off of Mr. Snappy here. We're just going to pass him around, and let you handle that. But I do appreciate all of y'all showing up today. You can just let everybody start handling, because you know, you may or may not remember anything I say tonight, but you will remember the alligator. I can remember when the Ultra 64 came out, you know, that computer, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Why didn't I have this when I was growing up? But I had something better. You know, I had the swamps of Louisiana, and that's where my love for animals really came from and was rooted in who I am. And I decided that I was going to trap animals for a living after that. I came home and I told my wife, I was like, look, we're going to buy some traps and I'm going to catch animals. And I'm pretty sure she threw a shoe at me. And so, you know, I say this a lot. I rescue people from wild animals. I decided that I was going to go down the path of brand entertainment instead of traditional advertising. And what I mean is I was going to take my brand and make entertaining content around it, and people would remember that, and if they had an animal issue, then they would call me, you know? And so I started down that path about 10 years ago. And we were in Shreveport, Louisiana at the time, and at that time, Hollywood came to Shreveport, Louisiana. You all know Samuel Jackson, right? I was on the film set for Cleaner, just one word, Cleaner, all right? And I was just background talent. That's all I was hired to do. And everybody was standing around. Well, I knew one thing. If everybody's standing around, they're wasting money. So I found out that everybody was standing around because the guy that was supposed to drive the backhoe to dig the grave for Samuel Jackson to throw the body in, he didn't show up. And they were struggling to figure out what to do, you know? Well, I just happened to pull out my wallet and I said, well, I have a heavy machinery operator card. I can operate that pack hole. And sure enough, they were like, what? Yep, they signed me up, and man, I got credit on it just like that. You know, got the pay bump and everything. Now, I told you in the beginning that I was a D student in school, all right? Well, through my life, I have found something that is more important than education and more important and trumps just about anything that you can do. It is really the great equalizer in life, and that is tenacity. If you have tenacity, you can overcome a bad childhood. You can overcome poor education. You can overcome, you know, not having the best finances in the life. But if you're tenacious and you stay on it and you stay after it, then you will win. But the other thing that goes right along with that is persistence. You know, if you can be tenacious and you can be persistent, then you can accomplish anything that you try, anything that you want to do in life. And those two things are the great equalizer. Doesn't matter how you were brought up, doesn't matter what college you went to, doesn't matter what life experiences you've had, but if you can be tenacious and you can be persistent, you'll accomplish anything you put your mind to. And with that, I appreciate you. We are going to have some animals at the end of this, and I want you to take pictures with them and remember who we are, Wildlife Command Center.
All right, everybody, see you soon. We're going to do another one of these. Get a hold of me if you know somebody that deserves to be highlighted on our TV show on ABC here in St. Louis, the Your Little Castle show, yourlittlecastle.com. If you believe nobody took that, yourlittlecastle.com. Thanks, everybody. Giddy up.